Hey everyone, welcome back to Progress to IELTS. Today we'll be talking about one of the most common topics in the IELTS speaking exam part 2, and that's describing someone or something and how you feel about it. This could be a person, a book, a movie, or an event. I'll explain some good ways to answer this question, and we'll get to see some examples of answers that scored well. Now, this part of the exam is all about fluency, coherence, and showing a rich range of vocabulary. When the examiner gives you the Part 2 topic, you have 1 minute to prepare, and then you can speak for up to 2 minutes. You want to use as much of this time as possible. Fortunately, the topic cards always give you several specific questions to answer. So you want to try to tell a clear and engaging story about the topic that includes answers to all these questions. Some topic cards end by asking how you feel about someone or something. For example, this one asks you to describe a famous person and how you feel about them. How you feel about someone can include both your emotions and your opinions. You could describe it with phrases like, I like or respect or despise him. I love or admire or don't like the fact that she. I wish he wasn't so. I feel happy or relaxed or brave when I spend time with her. He makes me feel hopeful. Her generosity makes me feel. He inspires me. In order to provide a complete answer, you should explain why you feel that way. I love my mother because she is always there for me. I admire this teacher because he's so smart and good at explaining things. I respect the fact that she always stands up for what she believes in. I'm trying to be more like her. My friend makes me feel relaxed because he's so easygoing. These explanations are a good way to expand your answer by providing stories or examples. Other topic cards end by asking how you felt when something happened. For example, this one asks you to describe a film and how you felt after watching it. This is asking you to describe your emotions. For example, after watching the film, I felt happy or confused or scared. The film or the performances or the plot made me feel. It can be even better to use natural phrases to explain your feelings, like it moved me to tears, or I was on the edge of my seat, or I couldn't stop thinking about it for days, or it made me realize how important friendship is. Here too, it's a good idea to explain why it made you feel that way. Although it can be tempting, don't memorize answers. The examiners can usually tell and will mark you down. Speak naturally and with emotion. Connect with your listener just like in a real conversation. And that's it. Now let's check out some real examples of strong answers to this type of question. The first model answer scored 8. The Part 2 question said, describe a famous historical figure you know about. You should say when this person lived, where this person lived, why they played an important role in history, and describe how you feel about this person.
All right. Now you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Okay, so one famous historical figure that comes to mind is Funmilayo Ransom Kuti. Funmilayo lived in the 90s. She was born in Abeokuta. Abeokuta is also known as Egbaland. It's a Yoruba tribe, southwestern part of Nigeria. And so back in secondary school, I remember that one of our history lessons, our teacher taught us that she was the first female to ever drive a car in Nigeria. And so that memory stuck in my head. Now, she fought for women, especially market women back then. I remember the colonialists were taxing women heavily, and so she was one of those who fought for the rights of women. She also advocated for young girls, and that she ensured that young girls also went to school because male children were the ones who were sent to school, but she made sure that parents were sending their female children to school. And it's made me admire her so well because she was determined, she was vocal about the rights of women. She ensured that she fought for women's rights, and I admire her courage, I admire her resilience, I admire her determination. So this is one person that I know that sticks in my mind every time as a historical figure.
She clearly described this historical figure, including where and when she lived and the role she played in history. She then explained how she felt about the figure by saying, "It made me admire her," and "I admire her courage, I admire her resilience, I admire her determination." The next model answer scored a 7.5. The Part 2 question said, "Describe a person who has been a good friend to you." You should say who this person is, how you know this person, why you think this person has been a good friend, and describe how you feel about this person.
The person I'd like to talk about is a good friend of mine called Rachel. We are at university in Manchester together, and we met in the first few weeks of term as she's on the same course as me. We study economics together. I think the first time we met was in the first class we had, and we sat next to each other. We started chatting and we just liked each other straight away. We have also started this year sharing a house together because we realized that we were getting on so well, and we thought that by sharing a house, we would be able to study together more effectively and also have fun together. I think she's been such a good and true friend because we have some similar interest and we can count on each other. So we have a lot of interesting conversations like chatting about what we want to do in the future after we have finished our course, and sometimes we talk about economics. And I don't just mean talking about the coursework we have to do. I mean more abstract stuff such as different cultural views on life and society. We also really like watching the same programs on TV together and talking about them afterwards. For example, the other day we watched a documentary on the role of internet in our daily lives. Not that we always agree though. I guess that's what makes our friendship special because we are able to disagree but without falling out or taking it personally. We also play football together along with our other housemates. We haven't.
Thank you.
This candidate clearly introduced her friend, saying who she is and how they know each other. She then spent most of her 2 minutes talking about why they are good friends and how she feels about her friend. She used expressions like, "We liked each other straight away," "We were getting on so well," "I think she's been such a good friend because," "We can count on each other," and "That's what makes our friendship special." She also told several specific stories about what they like to do together. The third model answer scored an 8. The Part 2 question said, "Describe a news story you have heard about recently." You should say when you heard about it, where you heard about it, what it was about, and explain how you felt when you heard it.
Okay, so I'd like to tell you about a news story that I read about. I came across this last weekend. I was just browsing a couple of news websites when I clicked on this particular article. So the story was about how technology is changing the way that we live and work. There have been so many developments in the last few years, and the article described how businesses now often use social media for marketing, recruitment, and communication, which is quite different from in the past. Also things like stock control. So, for example, many companies use sophisticated software programs to monitor how much stock they have and to order new stock and let customers know what's available. These jobs used to be done by people, of course, so making these roles redundant could be seen as a bad thing. On the other hand, it also means companies are generally more efficient with less wastage and faster communication. The news article mentioned how there could be big changes in employment patterns in the future, so fewer people will be involved in administrative tasks, but Instead, people will be needed for programming computers to take over those tasks. Another impact of technology is that people are increasingly able to work from home, and I was surprised to read how many people are doing that. Obviously, that means less commuting, more flexible working hours, which can be seen as positives. The article definitely focused on the benefits of technology rather than any drawbacks and predicted a huge shift away from traditional offices and towards home working for all kinds of jobs in the future. So, how did this story make me feel? Surprised, I guess. I had no idea.
Thank you.
The candidate very briefly explained when and where he heard about the news story. He spent most of his time describing the story, which makes sense as it had a lot of details. At the end, he explained how he felt about it by asking himself the question, how did this story make me feel? Then answering it with, surprised, I had no idea. The last model answer scored an 8.5. The Part 2 question said, describe a film or movie that you watched recently. You should say what kind of film it was, where you watched the film, what you liked or disliked about the film, and describe how you felt after watching the film.
So, the movie I chose and that I watched recently is titled Catch Me If You Can. It is a movie that is starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks, and it's a movie about a young boy who escapes from his home and becomes a con artist, and he's trying to get away from his entire life, and he's chased by an FBI person. It was a comedy and drama movie, and I watched it in my living room on a TV, more specifically on the platform Netflix, with my parents on a movie night yesterday. There are multiple things that I liked and disliked about this movie. What I really liked was the way the movie was made. I really liked the characters playing in the movie, and I really liked the storyline and the overall plot of this production. What I disliked about the movie was how I thought some parts of this movie were really elongated and unnecessarily long, basically. I felt content when the movie ended. I thought it was a great movie, worth watching. And I also felt intrigued because I didn't know whether this movie was based on a true story or it was just made up. But then I looked into it and realized it was based on a novel. So yeah, that's the movie that I watched recently.
The candidate described the film and its plot. She explained where and when she saw it, and she's then spent more than half of her time explaining her reaction to the film, including what she liked and disliked about it and how she felt when she watched it. She used expressions like, there are multiple things that I liked and disliked about this movie. What I really liked was, what I disliked about the movie was, I felt content when the movie ended, and I thought it was a great movie. So now you've seen several good examples of answering IELTS Speaking Part 2 questions, describing something and explaining how you feel about it. As a next step, try coming up with your own answers to these questions. Drop a comment below and tell me what film you chose. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tips on the IELTS speaking exam. Until next time, happy studying and good luck with your IELTS prep.